Hi everyone, this is Mary. You're in Mary Reads. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. This series of videos is about 30 books that men must read before 30. The previous two videos were about 30 books women should read before 30. So if you've missed that, I'm gonna link them down below. But before we begin, please do not forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel not to miss any future videos. Okay, so book one is Less Than Zero by Bret Easton Ellis. This is the author of American Psycho, which I really want to read this year. It is in my plans. I already have this book on my Kindle. I just need to actually take it and read it. But I've, interestingly enough, saw this book, Less Than Zero, 2 days ago in a bookstore in Brooklyn, and it interested me a lot. This is a different genre from the American Psycho, though I would assume that it will be slightly different just based on what I read in the Esquire review. Esquire published the article that I'm taking the list from. So here, a group of narcissistic, rich teenagers and young people are going to be doing all these crazy things like drinking a lot, having sex with everybody, driving their expensive cars, partying, and basically we will read about this excess lifestyle and the consequences of it. This actually sounds like something that I would enjoy reading. So I might put that on my list for next year. We'll see. I don't really see why this is a book for men, but okay. This is book number one. Book number two, Me Talk Pretty One Day by David Sedaris. This book is a collection of essays based on the life of the author, who was growing up gay, Greek, with a lisp, and he was growing up in North Carolina. I assume he was bullied and he did not have a very happy childhood in that sense. Maybe he didn't have a lot of friends. And he will basically be talking about his experiences, how he got through it. And here I can see why it's a book for men, though again, I feel like it can be interesting for anybody who has ever been bullied for one reason or another. Book number three, actually something that I would be very interested in reading, and this I can see why it's a book for men. It is an Indian author, V.S. Napau, and the book is called A House for Mr. Biswas. It is apparently based on the character of the father of the author, and it talks about a man. Our main character is a man who is dealing with fatherhood, who is dealing with marriage, who is trying to keep his life together, and just goes through all of these human experiences and is trying to make his way in life. This sounds cool, and I can see why it is for men, obviously, since the main character is a man. We kind of will be looking at all of these experiences through men's eyes, and yeah, I can see why this is on the list. If you've read this book, please let me know if you've liked it or not, because it seriously sounds cool, and I'm considering reading it. Though I do not really read Indian authors. I don't think I've ever read an Indian author. And I wonder if it's something similar to what I've seen in, let's say, Japanese literature, where everything is much slower, where the story is told slower, with more details, with more metaphors. Not a lot is happening. We are just mostly thinking about certain things. We're not acting on them, but we're thinking about certain things. So I wonder if an Indian author is kind of similar to what I've experienced with a Japanese author. So please, if you read this book, let me know if my guess here is correct and if this is a book I should try reading. The next book, number four, is a book that I've already read. It's Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. Not sure why this story is put as a story a man should read. I feel like maybe it's because the main character is a guy, though still that doesn't really justify this book being for men. I enjoyed it. The only thing was that the book was depressing. So if you haven't read this book and you're thinking about reading it, that's one thing to remember. It is kind of depressing. Our main character is a young man. He's a university student and he falls in love with this young woman. I think she's a couple years older than him, but she is troubled. She has depression and she is dealing with it at the time when they meet and at the time when they start this kind of relationship that they have. And this story is about love and this dependent love, because our main character is, well, not obsessed with her, but he becomes very emotionally attached to her. This is a hard story to read. I have discussed it with certain people and they were like, oh yeah, this is very depressing, but still I really enjoyed it. And I think this book is worth reading, no matter if you're a man or a woman. The next book is Ken Kesey's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I still want to read this book. I've had it on my shelves since, I don't know, 2014, 15, and I've had it back in Moscow and I think it's still there. I will at this point get a copy in English. Probably it's for the best that I haven't read it at that young age when I just got the book, because the story is about a paranoid schizophrenic who is in an asylum and he narrates the story. So he talks about racial tension, sexual repression, and the way the patients are treated in this asylum. And if I remember correctly, we have this unreliable narrator here, which makes sense since it's the person who is schizophrenic and we don't know what's reality and what's not. So this adds a little bit of spice. I really enjoy having an unreliable narrator. Other examples of the books like that is Lolita by Nabokov. We have The Collector by John Fowles. And maybe if you're interested, if you like unreliable narrators in books, maybe I can make a video about novels with unreliable narrators. Please let me know if that's something you would be interested in. Okay, the next book is Americana, and I'm sorry if I don't pronounce the name of the author correctly. It's Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and this is a story about a high school couple from Nigeria. One of them goes to the US, another one goes to Britain to get their lives together and to kind of start over. But many years later, their paths cross again, and this is a story about racial identity in the modern age. I've heard a lot about this book. I haven't read it. I'm not sure if I'm interested in it. Maybe at some point. It would be probably a book for some sort of a challenge, like reading books of a genre I don't usually read, or reading about the topics I don't usually read and I don't find that exciting. Maybe it would go there, but I don't see myself reading this book just, you know, out of interest, putting it on my TBR and just reading it. It's just not something that I'm usually interested in. I don't know why this is for men. Again, like with the list for women, I feel like a lot of books here can be read by both men and women and appreciated the same way and understood, if slightly differently, but the lessons would still be there and the lessons would still be learned. Next, another classic, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. And again, I don't think this book is just for men, even though the main character is a young man. I absolutely adored this book. I read it a couple years ago, I think even before I started my channel. But it was a great experience. I was postponing reading this book for many years, and now I don't know why, because it was actually amazing. And if you haven't read this book, this is a story about a young man, a very handsome young man who knows that he's handsome and who loves being handsome. And one day his portrait is getting drawn, and somehow it happens that instead of him, his portrait is getting old, and all the bad decisions he makes, all the bad traits he has are shown on the portrait instead of his body and his face. And of course, it haunts him, it starts haunting him at some point, and he has to pay. I loved, again, this book. It's definitely something I would be rereading. I definitely feel like it's the book that you should keep on your shelves. Yeah, just nothing more to say, just a beautiful story. I'm glad it's on the list there, not because I think it's a book that every man should read, but just because more attention should be drawn to it. It is popular, but more people should read it. The more, the better. The next book is The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock by T.S. Eliot. It is a poem, and I have a very weird relationship with Eliot. I don't know. I've read Wasteland. I feel like maybe I don't understand it enough. Um, Even though we talked about it in college and we did a pretty deep analysis, I still just could not relate to the poem. I could not see the depth, or I didn't see enough of this depth. So for me, T.S. Eliot is not the author I would choose to read. I would love to understand him better and analyze him better, but I don't think that's the author I'm personally interested in. Here it says that every man should read a handful of poems by T.S. Eliot. Um, okay, I'll trust Esquire on that. I do not know if they should. Okay, this book actually sounds really cool. The Satanic Verses by Salman Rushdie. This is a story about a man who is stuck in between Eastern and Western cultures. And I would assume this would be a story about culture, traditions, identity, which I think is a very complicated and a very difficult topic to discuss, but still a very major one. I personally probably cannot fully relate to the issue because I am from Moscow and I moved to New York. I'm kind of fully immersed into the Western culture, but every time, for example, I traveled to the East, I could feel that difference. I didn't live there in those countries for a long time, but even spending a couple weeks there would make me understand that the culture is so different, and sometimes it's hard. It's like physically hard to understand how those people think, how they live, and to kind of submit to those rules. So I feel like this is a very cool topic to discuss, and I would actually love to read that book. Again, not sure why it is just for men, probably again because the main character is a guy. But yeah, I would personally love to read this book. Number 10, The Secret History by Donna Tartt. And this book has also been in a women's list. I really enjoyed this book when I read it. It's a dark academia novel about a group of students who are all exclusive. There's only 5 of them. They all study classics, they study Greek mythology and history, and they commit a crime. And we know from the beginning who is murdered, who committed the crime. The only thing we don't know is why. And throughout the book, this is what we're going to learn. I really enjoyed the story, and I actually said in one of my previous videos that I would like to reread it. I think last time I read it in summer, which was my mistake. I will be reading it in the fall this year if I do have time. Book 11, Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. I have not read this novel yet. I want to, but I always had a feeling that that's something I would not really enjoy. I would not be able to relate to. But basically, this story contains an account of when Allies bombed Dresden, which the author was caught up in when he was a prisoner of war. So this would be kind of a first-hand retelling of that historical event. I'm sure it's going to be hard to read. I'm not sure if I am ready, but as soon as I am, I would like to read this book. The next, number 12, is The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde by Junot Diaz. I read what this book is about, and it actually sounds pretty cool. Again, about this person who cannot fit in. This is a story about a boy who is a second-generation Dominican growing up in New Jersey, and he loves sci-fi, he loves comics, he's nerdy, he's overweight, so he's not super popular in school, obviously, and he, as it says here, cannot display the machismo expected of boys in the Latin community. So he does not feel included. He feels like an outsider, and we have probably all felt this way. So this is something that I would be willing to read. This sounds like a really interesting topic to discuss, and this book won the Pulitzer Prize, which for me is a sign of quality. Not 100%, but it is a level up from any other book that does not have a Pulitzer Prize. The next book is The Fall by Albert Camus, and please let me know how it is pronounced in English, because I pronounced it kind of similar to the way it's pronounced in Russian, and it's been a problem of mine. It's really hard for me to figure out how to pronounce certain names because my brain automatically goes to the Russian version of the name. Okay, so this is a story about a Parisian barrister who recounts his fall from wealth and high regard, and he advocates for the less fortunate. But when something happens to a woman, she falls to death on a riverbank, he cannot do anything, or he doesn't want to do anything. And this is going to be a book about how others want to see us, want to perceive us. This slightly reminds me of Sister Carrie, just what happened to Hurstwood. I wonder if it's going to be similar in any way. If it is, I would love to read this book, because Sister Carrie is my guilty pleasure. I'm ready to read this forever and ever. The second I finish the book, I'm ready to open it and start over. So if this is something kind of similar to what happened with Hurstwood in Sister Carrie, please let me know, and this will go up on my TBR very, very fast. Next, My Struggle by Karl Ove Knausgaard. This is a semi-autobiographical book which basically walks us through the life of the author. It says that it is brutally honest and very detailed. We will talk about life, love, sex, and death. So basically, I assume we will go through most of the character's life and the author's life. What attracts me here is that it says that there will be lots of coffee. I wonder why that is important for the plot. Is it just something that gives us more atmosphere, or is it actually important for the plot? I would like to find that out. I can't say this is the book that I would start reading tomorrow, that my hands itch to read it, but you know, maybe that would be something that I'm reading like one chapter at a time throughout multiple months. Maybe. I feel like this is going to be kind of depressing. Next, and the last book for today, book number 15, The Golden Notebook by Doris Lessing. This is a look at communism in the 1950s through the thoughts of Anna Wolf, a radical left-winger in post-war Britain. Read for an insight into what it's like to be the enemy in your own country. Sounds interesting, sounds historical. Oh, and the author actually won the Nobel Prize in Literature, which is, wow. Yeah, that makes me want to read this book much, much more. Again, not because I'm not interested in the topic, it's just that it feels like it's going to be a very serious, a very hard to read book, emotionally hard to read. And the past 5 years made me not want to read anything connected to history, like war history, meaning anything connected to politics. That's not something I want or need in my life right now. It took me a while to get out of the close to depression state, and I really don't want to push myself back into it. So maybe one day, but definitely not anytime soon. I just don't want to deal with that right now. These were the first 15 books from the list of 30 books men should read before 30. Please let me know if you agree with these books, and let me know if you've read any of them. I would love to hear some reviews of any of these books. Thank you for watching this video. The part 2 will be coming out soon. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.